Hello, my name is Sheri Shereni. For those of you that have met me before, I'm here to help you maximize your potential. That's what I really am very passionate about, because that's what, for me, was a defining moment in my life. So I'm here to talk to you about self-awareness. How do you become aware of who you are? Many of us identify ourselves by the names that were given to us. Yes, it's a form of identity, but is that really who you are? We identify ourselves by our titles, but is that really who you are? If that title is taken away from you, what remains? Many of us also define ourselves by a circumstance that may have happened to us. I'm a widow. Well, so what? Is that really who you are? Have you always been a widow? What has changed that has stopped you from being who you are, who you were created to be, who you were enabled, talented, skilled to be? Are you aware of who you really are? As an individual, as a member of a family, as a member of a nation, a crowd, wherever you are, who are you? A lot of you also define yourselves by the identity of family. You know, in my culture where I come from, back there in Zimbabwe, people identify themselves by totems. And a totem is something that is attributed to the characteristics of a particular animal. And people take pride in that. It's good. Identity is very important. But is that really who you are? Are you living up to the characteristics of the totem by which you are identifying yourself? Some of you identify yourselves by different types of statuses in life. But who are you? In your private moment, if you were to ask yourself, who am I? Would you readily come up with an answer? I bet many of you wouldn't, or some of you wouldn't. Maybe many of you would, I don't know. But if you happen to be one of those who really do not know who you are, I want to help you a little bit. I may not help everything, but I want to give you something that will get you thinking about who you are. The answer to that question starts by you looking at yourself in the image of who you have been created and capacitated to be. Not so much to say, I'm a medical doctor, I'm a lawyer. Those are acquired skills. You can still acquire more, but they really don't define who you are. Who you are is defined by a certain intangible, something that if you die, you go away with. It could only be done by you in a particular way. Yeah, many other people could do something similar, but you leave your certain DNA, your certain footprint, your certain fingerprint, your certain unique iris in it. Who are you? You are who you really feel on the inside of me, that when I get to this point of doing something, when I get to this point of accomplishing something or finishing doing something, I get a certain sense of inexplicable contentment. And it's something that I can do even if I'm not getting paid for it. It almost comes as second nature. And because it comes so much as second nature to you, you may actually not even appreciate how much value that is to other people. But if you trace back, going back to your childhood, you will realize that many people would say, this one is an organizer. Whenever she is in a place, things get into order. This one, they can sing very well. And whenever they sing, it's not so much the singing that identifies who you are, but the inspiration that your singing brings to someone. It brings so much joy. It brings so much solace. It challenges me. That's who you are. If you are somebody who can provoke the best out of someone, that's who you are. And it doesn't come overnight. For me, it also didn't come overnight. I had to keep finding, who am I? Who am I? Who really am I in this situation? And it's not necessarily one blanket definition, although those definitions that you may come up of who you are, they will feed into each other. I remember at one point defining myself, I'm a mother. And I had to find the meaning. What does mother mean? I took a cultural context of motherhood, but the important thing that motherhood spoke to me was that a mother is somebody who brings life. Somebody who births life, because we call ships, is the mother of this, is the mother of that. The mother, ships, that carry cargo, they are defined in the feminine as a she, because they are carrying life. So for me, just knowing that I have that ability to infuse life in the different situations that I am in, it defined who I am. As a result, even though my mother kept on saying, you know how to organize things, what I knew about that organization was that she would always put me in a situation where there is a lot of chaos. And she would say, can you go and sort it out? Sherry knows how to sort it out. Put her in that situation. I knew I have the ability to extract order out of chaos, to infuse beauty out of things that are not beautiful, to bring life out of dying situations. And that's what defines me. So I stopped worrying. Even if I was put, I knew in the offices that people would fight over offices. If I was put in an office that was not glorious, I knew I would put beauty into that office. I remember at one time we were cleaning in a church. It used to be a cinema. And people always used to take shortcuts and never really wanted to be given a duty to clean the toilets. And I went there and I said, I am a life giver. I'm going to bring life into this situation. It's not the toilet that defines who I am. It's me who defines what the toilet should look like. I cleaned that toilet. I remember arriving at that hall and people were saying, we're about to go. And I said, you can go. I had a BMW 518 series. It was full of stuff to clean. And I said, we are cleaning from the ceiling to the floor and everything in between. We should clean it so much so that if somebody drops food in this toilet, they can pick it up and eat it, because that's how clean it is. We began to look into areas that were not glorious, that were not looking good, and we infused so much life into them. Until one lady came to me and said, I can see now that the glory is not in the place, it's in the person. It was also a moment of reckoning for me, for that life-giving identity that I had become aware of. So I knew I'm a life giver. So it doesn't matter, you put me in whatever chaos or you think you have given me the worst thing, I can bring beauty out of an inglorious thing. It doesn't matter whether you think I remember when I joined this multinational global company and I was put in a function that people despised the most. That function was when we were having meetings, business meetings or business planning presentations, that my function would be the last item on the agenda. But over a period of time, I moved that function from not having a seat on the table to having a seat on the table and to being one that is sought after. And as a result, in one of the big companies that ended up calling me to say, come and work for us. I was the only black, I was the only foreigner, and I was among a team of people where most people would wonder, how did you get there? But it is because I had unlocked a key to my self-awareness. Part of your self-awareness also comes from knowing what makes you feel very happy, what makes you disappointed. It defines the things that you really get you charged up, get you worked up, they define who you are. You need to identify those. But most of us identify and recognize who we are not. That's not what we are talking about. Yeah, it's an important part to your self-awareness, but you are not doing good enough. You need to move from that into an awareness of what really do you want, what really makes you content, what makes you joyful. I mean, really an inner sense of joy, an inner sense of satisfaction. It is also accompanied by you knowing the best part of your day. When do you really work the most? For me, I discovered that the best part of my day was wake me up at 2 a.m. Even when I was at school, if I had to read and to study anything, I wake up at around 2 a.m., 2 to 6 a.m. I don't have to read a paragraph twice. I would just cruise. But my mental thinking and my mental engagement ended around maybe 2 p.m. during the day. Thereafter, I'm just wanting to do routine things and so forth, things that don't really engage a lot of intellectual capacity from me, but sort of like organizing and so forth. You also need to understand what is your best part of the day, what energizes you, what takes away your energy. All those things are feeding into a definition of your self-awareness. Once you know who you truly are, once you are aware of who you are, even in particular situations, whether you are in the office, who are you in the office? I told you, for those of you that have followed me before, I told you that I stopped defining myself as an employee. I was not an employee. I was aware that I'm a business partner. But just that awareness, it changes the dialogue. It changes how you engage. It changes how you treat yourself and how you treat others. A lot of you have a slave mentality because you are employees. Stop being an employee. If you die today, you will be replaced tomorrow. So if you don't make any difference that is visible, you are an endangered species. Be aware of the things that really provoke the inner you. The source of your strength, the source of your joy, the source of that intangible. I want you to get it. If you can get that intangible, that satisfaction, whether money is there or not, I tell you that intangible energizes you, that money will follow you. Because a lot of you are seeking after money. But the things that really define you are the things which attract resources. You will be headhunted if you know who you are, if you know the value that you bring. But a lot of you are value takers. And worse still, some of you are value destroyers. I challenge you to begin to listen to the affirmations, to the compliments of other people, which you may have dismissed because it comes naturally for you. Pay attention to them. Pay attention to what they have said. You do well in this and that. Pay attention also to your critics. And I raise my voice here because it is very important. Your critics have a way of criticizing that thing that really makes you aware of who you are. Because either they are jealous of it because they can't do it as well as you do, or they just want to destroy it. So pay attention to your critics. I used to hear people say, she thinks she has a lot of money. And at one point I began to apologize about it and I say, what's wrong with having money? Not because I necessarily have it, but I learned everything that I did and made a difference brought to me a certain reward, brought to me a certain acknowledgement. And some of those acknowledgements were monetary acknowledgements. So listen to your critics and be aware. What is it that they continually criticize about you? Don't let it die. Don't let it die, because once you are aware of it, protect it, guard it, feed it, grow it. Be aware of who you are. Because if you are not aware of who you are, you will become everybody else. And if you try to become everybody else, you become a nobody. See you in my next episode.